So recently I rounded up my favourite point-and-click adventure games for the Nintendo Switch, 10 titles boasting brilliant brain teasers, engrossing narratives, and in one case, a very sweary clown.
Look, I'm not one to get all apologetic, but I'm sorry for being a to you.
Since then, we've seen a few more adventures hit the Nintendo eStore, and some of them are genuinely bloody brilliant. So here's my pick of the best point-and-click titles as we stroll into 2019 that you can download for the Nintendo Switch. And don't forget, for more on the latest and greatest adventure games and for tech in general, to poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Nyree, Tower of Shuren. One of our favourite recent point-and-click titles has to be Nairi, a cute yet absorbent adventure that's perfect for cozying up in those long winter evenings. You play as the titular character, who finds her comfortable if rather boring existence kicked right in the soft bits when a mysterious gang attacks her family in the dead of night. There's a lot of narrative to get through at the game's beginning, but things quickly pick up when Nairi gets out into the real world. We love the colourful cast of characters and that quaint Japanese-style hand-drawn presentation. Tower of Shuren has charm oozing out of every orifice, and yet some of the puzzles are actually pretty challenging, which was both unexpected and very pleasing indeed. Even the sudden and rather ridiculous ending can't stop us from recommending Nairi as one of the best adventure games on Switch right now. The Shapeshifting Detective. Now, I first really got into adventure games back in the 1990s when Sierra was one of the biggest names around, and the likes of Phantasmagoria and The Beast Within really got me into FMV. When done right, it really feels like you're playing a movie, even if some of the acting is at best questionable and at worst cheesier than my granddad's socks stuffed full of baby bells. FMV adventures are actually still a thing in 2019, thanks in large part to publisher Wheels Interactive, who just brought the highly original Shapeshifting Detective to Nintendo Switch. This game casts you as a supernatural being who can morph into any character that they come across. Your mission is to solve the grisly murder of a girl in a small English village. Pretty much all of the gameplay involves simply talking to the various suspects and other characters, but the fact that you can transform into anyone you like makes for a highly entertaining time. You'll uncover all kinds of groovy little subplots as you work your way towards unmasking the killer, while the promise of multiple endings helps to add some extra tension. To figure out the real culprit, you'll definitely need to pay close attention to all of the responses and reactions. Oh, and definitely a special shout out to the brilliant duo of Poe and Monroe, who frankly deserve their own spin-off game. Apocalypsis. It was the pre-Renaissance style of Apocalypsis that first attracted me to this point-and-click adventure. The game's presentation is definitely very unique, and I really wanted to get through each segment just to see what crazy stuff cropped up next. While things never get quite as dark and horrific as they do in the likes of Tormentum Dark Sorrow, a game which sadly still hasn't made it to the Switch, there's still haunting imagery and sinister shenanigans aplenty in Apocalipsis. Gameplay is for the most part quite simple. Those puzzles won't prove too taxing to any proper full-on adventure fans, although they're definitely still entertaining to blast through. Occasionally you'll have to beat a little minigame to progress, and these are fun little diversions that thankfully do not outstay their welcome. Throw in a bit of voice work from that main guy off of riff-tastic metal band Behemoth and we're fully on board. Quarantine Circular. This spiritual successor to Subsurface Circular can be grabbed on the Nintendo eStore right now for just under $5, and although it is a simple game which most players will probably beat in less than a couple of hours, we still recommend having a go. Like Shapeshifting Detective, the bulk of Quarantine Circular involves conversations between the various characters. The melancholic plot should appeal to any sci-fi fans, and that story was definitely gripping enough to keep us hooked through a single playthrough. Okay, so it does feel at times like you're being led down a singular path, while the constant swapping of perspectives can be a little disorienting. But for less than the cost of a London pint, we really can't grumble at this slickly produced adventure. Have a good scout about and you'll find a couple of other point-and-click adventure games lurking deep in the darkest corners of the Nintendo eStore, one example being Secret Files Tunguska. Secret Files is a lengthy title that certainly serves up some slick presentation, though the plot isn't quite gripping enough and the characters are a bit two-dimensional and frankly boring, so it is a tough one to recommend. But definitely let me know if I missed off your own favourite point-and-click adventure game that you can bag right now on the Nintendo Switch. Just give us a shout out in the comments down below, and as I say, don't forget to poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest tech and games. Cheers!